I'm going to ask my colleague, the Honorable Jim Jolly, if he would please tell us what we're doing at the Pledge of Allegiance this evening.
Thank you, Madam President. So tonight we have some great guests from BSA Troop 782 out of Holy Trinity Lutheran Church here in Livonia. I'd like to welcome you up here to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm sure you will do a very capable job. If you'd like to come up and stand like right up here, right in the middle, and then this camera up here is going to put back up just a little bit more and line up right there, and we'll get a nice picture of all of you for everybody at home. Thank you.
All right. Whenever you're ready.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well done.
Thank you, Mr. Jolly, and thank you very much to Boy Scout Troop 782 out of Holy Trinity. As many of you know, I have a special affiliation and feeling of pride of Troop 782. It's where my stepbrother and my son, Patrick, both obtained their Eagle Scouts. So anyway, thank you guys, and thank you to your troop masters and leaders for being here tonight. Good evening, and welcome to the 1931st regular meeting of the Livonia City Council. This is a voting meeting. Minutes of this meeting will be approved at the next regular meeting, scheduled to be held on Monday, November 8th, 2021. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Jolly?
Present.
Councilmember Toy? Here. Vice President Barr?
Here.
Councilmember White?
Here.
Councilmember McCullough?
Here.
Councilmember Donovic?
Here.
President McIntyre?
Here, and so we have all members of the council with us this evening. At this time, we have presentations of the minutes for the 1930th regular meeting of the City Council that was held on October 4th, 2021.
So moved.
Support.
Any comments or corrections to the minutes? One from the audience? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please take the vote on approval of the minutes from the October 4th meeting?
Councilmember Jolly?
Aye.
Councilmember Toy?
Aye.
Vice President Barr?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough?
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic?
Aye.
President McIntyre?
Aye, and the minutes are approved unanimously without any edits or corrections. At this time, I go to the council. If any members have personal announcements, tributes, or recognitions they'd like to make, Councilmember Donovic.
Thank you, Madam President. Great job to the Boy Scouts of America, Troop 782. Thanks for being here tonight. Well done. Also, I'd like to share our condolences with retired four-star General Colin Powell. He was a former Secretary of State, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and National Security Advisor, and involved all things politics for a very long time now. Unfortunately, passed away, as you may have seen in the news. So I'd like to send my condolences to him. He was a revered leader in the military, and a lot of people look to his guidance and a lot of his planning throughout the decades in the armed forces. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilmember Toy.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I also would like to give my condolences to this country with loss of a great leader. I was able to meet Colin Powell and at a VIP reception up at Central Michigan University when I served with Senator Emmons in the Senate, and have an autograph book from him on leadership secrets of Colin Powell. And I think many of us should probably read that book, because he just embraced what this country should be about and was all about, and he's going to be sorely missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Toy. Anyone else?
Madam President,
Yes, Vice President Barr.
thank you. I'm listening to that, and I think I was 11 years old when Desert Storm happened. That's when I was first introduced with Colin Powell, and I've got his, anybody that was alive then, there were the Topps trading cards of Desert Storm, and I've got a Colin Powell card in my basement. So that's not what I wanted to share, though. Two things. One is, and I'm sharing this somewhat out of a sense of guilt, because I am not going to be able to attend this wonderful event. So since I can't be there to support it, I'm going to at least try to plug it. And that is this Thursday, October 21st, from 5 to 7 at Christ Our Savior Lutheran Church. The Rotary Club of Livonia is going to be hosting their annual spaghetti dinner to help raise money for the, if you're familiar with Rotary at all, you know that they're very passionate about completely eradicating polio from the world. And this is just a great event every year that I enjoy going to. It's just not possible for me to be there this year, but I just want to encourage Livonia residents to go check that out. It's a really nice community event for a good cause. It's $12 for adults, it's $5 for kids 12 and under. You can pay at the door, you can pay in advance at livoniarotary.org. So I want to make people aware of that. The second thing, Madam President, is I'd like to offer a resolution that we ask the law department to draft language for an ordinance that would enable the city council, office manager, and staff to report administratively to the city clerk. As many who have followed our council business may know, we made a change recently that I think was very appropriate to that office report to the council, because that's ultimately who it serves. But the fact of the matter is that these are part-time jobs, and there's just some administrative difficulties. Council President McIntyre has done a fabulous job of keeping up with it, but there are some administrative difficulties with doing a part-time job and yet trying to do the full-time work of overseeing that office. So I believe the law department's familiar with what we're asking, and I'd like to offer that resolution that they prepare the language for such an ordinance.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Yes, if I may. Help me understand again, where's this going, to the clerk's office?
It would be going to the, and by the way, I apologize, I should not have said all that until I had a second, right? But thank you, Councilman Jolly. Councilwoman Toy, what I'm asking is that ultimately that we change the ordinance so that council would still appoint that position, but that from an administrative standpoint, that it would report to the clerk's office. And there's been some discussion about this. I think that would make a lot of sense, and I'm just asking law to prepare language for that ordinance change that we could then consider.
Specifically the clerk, if I may, or specifically the clerk?
Report to the clerk, yeah,
Okay.
administratively, yes.
And would the council get any kind of reports back on anything, or would it leave the council out of the mix, or?
It would still, so there'd be an administrative reporting to the clerk, but council president would still choose who
Okay.
fills that position. I think it would be natural that there'd be some kind of reporting mechanism there. We could figure that out.
Certainly, okay, thank you.
Yeah, if I may, Madam President.
Oh, please.
So I understand, well, as I understand this and the premise of this, I think it makes sense from a staffing perspective, a management perspective, for day-to-day operations. In drafting this ordinance here, and again, I just have like an overview of what the goal is here. I think it would be appropriate that that person still take direction from the council office as well. I want to make sure that that's enshrined in this.
Very elected.
That all of a sudden we don't find ourselves without any administrative assistance within City Hall. But as long as that's preserved, I think this is a great idea.
Council President. I'd certainly concur with that. Thank you, Councilman Jolly. And I also just want to take this opportunity to say, we say it other times, but just many thanks also to Ms. Kasperwitz, who serves in that role and does a marvelous job as we've tried to navigate this year. I think there's been, a lot of things have been appropriate with what we did, but we just ran into there's practical difficulties with trying to do full-time work as a part-time job. So I think doing this will help us to navigate, to balance those responsibilities.
If I may ask one more question, is this forever? Is it till a different council's here or a different clerk is here? Is this a pilot program? Is this written in stone once we change it? Is there a time certain on it? Are we seeing how this works? Because the clerk is also an elected official. And while we have a wonderful clerk here, not that we're gonna get a bad one, but you just never know what can happen in politics. So, I just wanna be clear, I think as Councilman Jolly said, that we're on even ground on this, that's all. And, I appreciate it, thank you. Yes.
I'm going to
Certainly.
pass the gavel so I can comment on this. And just to reiterate, the person in the job of the manager of the council office and of council business would still take all of the direction and do work on behalf solely of the council. What we've realized when we made this change this year is there are administrative functions, performance reviews, just administrative work like that is difficult to do and keep up with when the council president is a part-time position. And also because the council president does not serve as a member of the leadership team like the city clerk does, it leaves then, and Ms. Thomas has done a wonderful job of debriefing the council on the leadership meetings, but having the council office report administratively to a department where there is a department head and the city clerk, unlike unlike the council president, functions as a department head. So for the day-to-day, right, engagement with the administration, any information, having the council manager report through the office of the clerk administratively, we thought would be very helpful for the communication flow. But all the direction will still come, and we do not, there's no sunset proposed.
Okay, that's what I wondered. All right.
I
Mr.
guess
Donovan?
sorry, I forget what my role is now. Yes, Mr. Donovan.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I support this. I think it's a good idea. First of all, thanks to Ms. Kasperowitz for everything you do, and Ms. Thomas, thank you for everything we do. As we've spoken tonight, we're a part-time position. We're not at City Hall every single day. As far as part-time legislators, these folks, especially in the council office, do a lot of great work, and they talk to a lot of residents, and they help council members, so we're fortunate to have Sarah and LaShawn in the mayor's office. I think this makes sense. To council president's point, we're not here all day long, the council president, and as long as the council president retains their oversight position and their power over the council office, I think this makes sense. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else? Mr. McCullough?
Thank you. This is the first that I'm hearing of this, so I'm going to support the measure to at least draft an ordinance, but until I actually see more information on it, you know, this is kind of coming all new at me, just to see what directives, but I'll support it now, but truthfully, up until this second, I have no idea what we were talking about, so thank you.
So it should go on the regular then?
No, it's
that
an
what
ordinance
we're
change,
doing?
it will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has to go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, as this being an ordinance change, it'll go through normal process,
Right.
and we're asking for the language, which we'll then have opportunity to review, so. Anybody else from council have any comments or questions? Okay, with that, Madam Clerk, I'm sorry, yeah, that's right, we have a resolution on the table. Anybody from the audience want to speak for or against this measure? Okay, seeing no one, Madam Clerk, you can take the roll.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
President McIntyre,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
Councilmember Donovan,
Aye.
Vice President Barr.
Aye, motion passes, and I will pass the gavel back to Council President McIntyre.
Thank you very much. If no one else from the council has any announcements, tributes, or recognitions, at this time we go to council president announcements, and I'm going to start by yielding the floor to our city clerk, Ms. Susan Nash, to talk to us about the upcoming Livonia municipal election.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder that we have an election on Tuesday, November 2nd. If you would like to get an absentee ballot and you have not requested one yet, you may request one by mail up until Friday, October 29th at 5 p.m. We can mail out then. After that, you have to come in person, but you can come in person right now and we can issue ballots. We are open Saturday, October 30th, from 7:30 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. for election purposes only. At any time during this next couple weeks, you can come into the clerk's office and register to vote. You can register to vote up until 8 p.m. on Election Day. So we do same-day registrations now. And if you do come in, if you do register to vote, we're going to give you a piece of paper. If you choose that you want to go to a poll, you can take that receipt to the poll, or you can get an absentee ballot right then and there. We have a drop box outside that is open at all times, and we have a drop box here inside City Hall. I do recommend, if you can, to use the drop box. There is no guarantees with the United States Postal Service right now on time. So this way, to guarantee that we will have your ballot by 8 o'clock on Tuesday, you can bring it right here to City Hall, and we will take care of it from there. If you have any questions, please call the clerk's office for the election purposes. The polls will be open November 2nd from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nash. I have a question, then I don't know if others have questions as well. So some of our college students that have now left and are away from home have turned 18,
Yes.
either since they left or shortly before they left. So if they are away from home and not registered yet, how do they go through the process of registering and able to get an absentee ballot application?
If they happen to be listening right now, they can do it online today. And it can be done at this time. If not, they do need to do it in person. If they go to the Secretary of State's office, they would have to come here. It has to be, in the last 2 weeks is in person at the clerk's office. So if there is someone, we will do everything we can to walk them through it. If parents are listening and you have a son or daughter away at school, we will walk you through this process and we will help in any way we can. We can mail the ballots to school, and we can do that. We have had kids that have come home, depending on, how you know, obviously, if they're close enough, they can do it. But yes, we do everything we can for the college students to be able to get their ballots to them. But they can go online to michigan.gov. They can go to the Secretary of State's website. So if any college students, again, are listening right now, go to that. And you can register to vote and take care of it right then and there, and even request an absentee ballot. And
So,
if you're in a dorm or you're in an apartment, make sure you put all the information down so we get it to the right dorm, right apartment.
so today's the last day. If you have not yet registered to vote, today is the last day that you can register online.
Yes.
If you do not register online today, then in order to register in time for this election, you have to come
Yes.
to this city clerk's office, right? Did you?
And we have in the past, when there's been situations, if, let's say, a parent calls and their child's coming in from out of town and we're closing at 5, but they can't get there till 5:10, one of us will wait. We will accommodate. We do everything we can to help. We understand that, especially the college kids, they're got a time crunch.
Thank you. And again, thank you for all the accommodation of your office to get everyone registered to vote. Councilmember Jolly?
I was just going to echo those thoughts that you just shared there. Our clerk, Susan Nash, and her staff and all of the election officials work amazingly hard, and they are very diligent in providing an election that we can all be proud of. So I just want to thank you.
Thank you.
And wish you all luck in the next 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
One day and some
in a
minutes,
few
maybe, I don't
hours.
know, but thank
counting.
you.
Yeah, no countdown.
Councilmember Donovan?
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to touch on something that our clerk said, we accommodate, and I appreciate that. There's been multiple occasions where myself or residents that I know of have reached out to the clerk's office, and if they don't have a name tag on front of the clerk's office, that should be it. We accommodate. They go above and beyond to help the residents vote in our community, and they do a wonderful job, whether it's elections in May or elections in November, whether it's a presidential election or a city council election with not a lot of stuff going on, so to speak. I think you guys do a wonderful job, and all the volunteers that come in and help out, or the poll workers that help out all day long. It's a long day, election day, and they do a phenomenal job doing a great service to our community. So thanks to the city clerk's office and everyone involved in the election process.
Thank you. Yes, it is a long day, and we really do appreciate the people, the volunteers from the community that come out and work. We couldn't do it without them. I tell them that every meeting we have, that we can do everything we can leading up to an election, but without the workers, we can't. We can't be in 16 buildings and 44 precincts at once. So really, when you're at the polls, thank the people working. The 450 people that we have out there, or 350 people that we're going to have next in 2 weeks, they really do a lot for our community.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, my other announcement is that the Citizens Advisory Committee meeting for the 2022 road repairs will be Wednesday, October 27th, 2021, from 6 to 7:30 PM. And I'm going to ask Mr. Todd Zielinski, our city engineer, and welcome back, Mr. Zielinski, if you would just give a little reminder as to what that is, the importance of citizen engagement, and where the meeting will be held, please.
Thank you, Madam President. As you all know, we have a road millage that we want to obviously get people's input from. We go out and we rate the roads every 2 years. So this year is our last year of the renewal millage in 2022. So we're asking for your input to fix the roads in the city. We have 373 miles. So anybody that has a concern on a city jurisdiction road, in front of their house, business, whatever, please come to attend on October 27th, Wednesday, from 6 to 7:30 at the new DPW building on Farmington Road, 12973 Farmington Road, just south of Schoolcraft on the west side. You'll be able to meet the Citizens Road Advisory Committee members that they comprise of 10 people, and share your thoughts, and we're looking to gather input on locations or concerns you have, and looking to incorporate those potentially in 2022. And again, look forward to seeing people there. It's Wednesday, 6 o'clock, and look forward to getting your input. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zielinski. And I would suggest a good maybe conversation for Troop 782 to have with the scouts when you're working on some of your citizens in the community badges, are to look at, in Livonia, which roads are controlled or owned by the city. Is that the right term? Owned or controlled, I guess, under the jurisdiction of the city, and which are under the jurisdiction of the county. Because a lot of times we hear people who are very upset with us over roads like Inkster, right? Inkster, Merriman, Farmington, which are actually under the jurisdiction of the county and not of the city. So that's a good topic for discussion with the Boy Scouts when you're working on your citizenship badges. And thank you, Mr. Zelinsik. And again, I'd just like to reiterate, this is an opportunity for citizens to come and have input into how those millage dollars are going to be spent on our roads over the next 2 years. So I encourage you to attend and make your voice heard. And finally, we have 2 birthdays to announce. We wish Mr. Josh Sable, the Director of Community Resources, a very happy birthday on October 23rd. And Mr. Casey O'Neill, our Director of Information Services, a very happy birthday on October 25th. So maybe there'll be some sort of joint party on October 24th, so we can celebrate both of them. And the good news is, Todd, neither of them are celebrating a birthday on the 27th, so they have no excuse for not coming to the meeting, right? Anyway, so happy birthday to those great colleagues and 2 gentlemen who do so much for our city and for those of us who work for the city at City Hall. At this time, I have the pleasure of introducing our department heads who are with us this evening. Beginning on my left, our city engineer, Mr. Todd Zelinsik. To his, continuing on my left, to his right, Mr. Mark Taramina, our Director of Economic Development and Planning. Continuing with Ms. Sarah Kasperich, our Manager of the City Council Office and City Council Business. And you heard a discussion about her responsibilities earlier this evening. Continuing on my right, our City Clerk, Ms. Susan Nash, who she and her team are always busy gearing up for their busiest time, election season. And continuing is Ms. LaShawn Thomas, our Director of Governmental Affairs. And then finally on the end is Mr. Paul Bernier, our City Attorney. These department heads are always with us at every meeting or one of their senior representatives to help us in conducting the meeting. And then in the back, I see that we have Mr. Michael Slater, our Director of Finance, and our City Treasurer, Ms. Linda Scheel back there. So thank you to everyone. And at this time, we go to the audience. We set aside half an hour at the beginning of every meeting for audience communication, and each person is given 3 minutes to address the council on any item not on the evening's agenda. And we ask that the comments that are made be relevant to something in the city, and you will be, and that they not include any personal attacks or inappropriate attacks on anyone, and that they remain civil and polite. And at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, our parliamentarian, Ms. Kathy White, will let you know that you have 30 seconds left. And we ask that you introduce yourself with your name and address, so we know who's communicating with us. And with that, and again, we will, it's 7:24, so we will do this for half an hour. If at the end of the half hour, there are still people who wish to communicate during audience communication, but we haven't gotten to you, we have a second audience communication at the end of the meeting, when we stay until everyone who wants to have an opportunity to address the council has the opportunity to do so. And you only may address the council once during any meeting. If you address the council at the first audience communication before the meeting, then you are not permitted to address the council again after the meeting at the second audience communication. And with that, I'd like to welcome our first communicant.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
My name is Dia Mason. I'm an attorney with the Fair Housing Center of Metropolitan Detroit. Livonia is part of our jurisdiction, and I just this is more of an informational talk as to what we do and the services that we provide. So over 40 years, the Fair Housing Center has served the citizens and community of Livonia, Michigan, in fair housing complaint intake, investigation, testing, and complaint resolution. When necessary, we assist citizens in filing complaints in federal and state court and with HUD and the Michigan Department of Civil Rights. We also are available to answer questions by residents, housing providers, city staff, and others regarding fair housing and general housing-related matters. We also have a variety of fair housing brochures informing citizens of their fair housing rights on various topics. All of these services are provided free of charge. Each year, the center trains housing providers, management companies, real estate agents, brokers, private, municipal, legal service attorneys, municipalities, tenants, and homeowners. We also engage in a variety of education and outreach activities and place fair housing advertisements in electronic, print publications, and on social media platforms. You can visit our website at www.fairhousingdetroit.org for additional information. We look forward to continuing to serve the citizens of Livonia to ensure that the community remains vibrant and inclusive for all. And that's on behalf of my boss, Executive Director Steve Tomkowiak, and our Board of Directors. Thank you for your attention. I also have some brochures that I would like to leave with your city.
But please do, and if you, do you have them with you at the podium?
I have them right here in a box.
All right, if you just set them maybe over there, Ms. Kasperwitz will make sure that we have some in the council office and that they're distributed to the other areas or the other departments in the city where residents visit. And I know others may want to comment, but so then you would be the liaison or one of the liaisons between the Fair Housing Department and our city, like our Ms. Brandy Isaacson, our
Yes.
Director of Housing.
Commission. Yes.
Okay, very
We
good.
set A few committees together.
Okay, well, it's very nice of you to take the time to come and be here in person and let us see one of the people that we know Brandy works with a lot on the provision of our fair housing initiatives and ensuring, right, that everyone in Livonia and those residents of our city-owned housing are all aware of your organization, the services and
Absolutely.
the
We've done
services provided.
numerous trainings with Brandy, and especially regarding emotional service animals and things of that nature. So we're very familiar with her work. She's
All
a
right.
good person. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Thank
All
you for
right,
your-
thank you again, and we'll make sure that those brochures get distributed appropriately.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you. I've met some of you before. I've done some things for the city. My name's Chris Edmonds. I live on Fulton Pines. I've lived in Livonia for about 35 years. And I have a retirement job as a driver for Livonia Community Transit. And it's been, the surprising aspect of this to me is, I mean, it pretty much took the job to get off the couch, but it's turned out to be a really rewarding. I've met a lot of nice people. I've done a lot of nice things. And I just want you guys all to know exactly what we deal with and how we deal with it. We only transport people that are 60 and over and or physically or mentally disabled. And we take them point to point, from home to doctors, from home to wherever they need to go. One of the major categories we have is dialysis patients. So when the COVID crisis hit, these people can't not go to, obviously can't. They have to go 3 times a week. They usually, 6 trips a week generally. And we get to know these people. Well, when the COVID hit, we have about 25 drivers. We usually run about 14 runs, 7 in the morning, 7 in the afternoon, prior to COVID. After COVID, we got down to the point where there were basically just 2 of us in the afternoon and 2 in the morning. The rest of the guys, for whatever reason they did, and I'm certainly not in a position to pass judgment on them, took off. It's scary. We're in a container driving sick people to places where there are more sick people. There is no social distance in the bus. I mean, people that are ambulatory, you don't have to touch them. They come in, they sit down, everything's fine. We're wearing masks. People in wheelchairs, on the other hand, to properly attach the wheelchair to the floor, you're laying in their lap. I mean, I'm fastening their seatbelt. I mean, there is absolutely no social distancing. So anyhow, the guys that took off received unemployment and received $600 a week. So for the year 2020, the 4 or 5 of us that stayed and worked, I'm going to assume we all made approximately the same amount of money, about $14,000. The guys who took the time off received an additional $600 a week. They made $45,000 to not work. So you can imagine when how happy we were just to get a pat on the back. It's not about the money, but to hear the mayor talk about we're going to take care of people. I don't like the word hero pay. I prefer hazardous pay was the way we thought about it. $1,000 full-timers, $500 for part-timers. I'm like, oh, that's fine, cool. Went to the office. Oh, we don't get that. We won't be receiving that money. And I mean, why? We're in a different category of part-time employees. I said, wow, it's...
Chris, you have 30 seconds.
Okay, it was pretty irritating. Anyway, so you can imagine I watched the video, everybody's saying, oh, thanks. I wanted to throw a brick through the television, I swear to God. So I know something happened at the last council meeting. I think Rob and Laura did some. I'm just curious, and they've sent me kind of into my colleagues have sent me to say what exactly is going on. What is going on? Anybody? I mean, you guys passed a motion at the
Well,
last meeting.
and as you know, Chris, your questions get directed to
Okay,
me,
fine,
and I'll
sure.
answer, and then if anyone else
That'd
wants
be
to
great.
chime in, I'll be
Sorry.
happy to. First of all, it's really nice to have you here, and I wonder if your passengers recognize that voice that,
Well, we talked.
that many of us who grew up here know that voice very well, and it's still always a joy to hear the voice, even though it doesn't come to me through the radio anymore.
Thanks.
But thank you for doing the job that you do. And you're absolutely right about the degree of hazard involved in your job. And you're also correct about pointing out what the compensation was for those of you who stayed and worked versus those who chose not to. And again, you made no, judgments, right? Everyone has their own
Right,
reason.
right.
But a couple of things. When you heard, I don't know if you heard the discussion now, was it 4 weeks ago, that we had a broad discussion on hero pay for the city, and I agree, I don't particularly like that term. And several of us were concerned with the fact that we were treating for employees who got it, treated everybody equally, because there are very different degrees of risk and what was asked of people. But we went ahead and did that. And then it came to our attention that our reserve police officers, our transportation folks, and also our CERT volunteers, understanding they're not employees, but worked in some pretty hazardous situations, were left out of that hero pay, if you will. And so I think it was our last meeting 2 weeks ago that Mr. Donovic asked or referred to the administration to investigate the ability to provide some sort of additional compensation to the transportation drivers, to the reserve officers, and also to look at an opportunity to do something for the CERT volunteers.
So what do we do to make this happen?
You wait. It's with the administration now. Ms. Thomas represents the mayor's office and the administration when she's here. I don't know, it was just 2 weeks ago, so we may not have an update yet. I don't know, LaShawn, if there is any update. But you can contact, one of the things you can do is you can contact Sarah in the council office. She's very easy to find on the city council office, and ask her if we would keep you apprised of what is going on with this.
Good.
But we're happy you came tonight to ask about this, but we are moving forward to investigate what can be done.
Right, it never occurred to several of us to
You
even.
have 30 seconds left, so we have to, unless you'd like additional time, which you may ask for, but
I just wanted to say that, never mind, I'm done. Thank you for whatever you can do. It just seemed really unjust, and I just hope the city can practice its own, what it preaches, and be kind here. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
Cool.
And we've got council members that asked to move forward on that
Cool.
2 weeks
Well,
ago.
thanks to them.
Thank you, Mr.
Yep.
Edmonds. And again, thank you for the outstanding job you do.
It's my pleasure. I tell you, you get to know these people, and you get to make friends, and sometimes you're the only person that speaks to them,
That's exactly right.
and you get them over and over and over, and I know more about them than I know about my own family,
Right.
so it just gets that way. I couldn't not do it, but
Yep,
to get their back turned on by the city is kind of not cool, so.
understood. Thank you.
Thanks. Yep.
Councilmember Donovic.
Thanks, Madam President, and thank you, Chris, for being here tonight. It's one of the reasons why I asked at our last council meeting for this item to be investigated further. You have reserve police officers who work through the entire pandemic, booking prisoners, pulling people over, investigating crime, et cetera, working hand in hand with our law enforcement agency. You have transit drivers, to what you said tonight, with some of the most vulnerable people throughout COVID, and driving these individuals to very important doctor's appointments and other things throughout our city. And then you have CERT volunteers, and I understand the complexity behind a volunteer and a city employee, but nonetheless, we should at least look into it, because these are three very active groups of individuals that make Livonia the city that it is. And you had certain individuals, groups of people that fell through the cracks, like you spoke about tonight, transit drivers, one in particular that do so much for the city, especially during COVID time. So when we talked about hero pay for individuals, the city employees that really kept the city going throughout a very difficult time in all of our lives, I definitely think that transit drivers, CERT volunteers, and our reserve police officers should be included amongst those full-time and part-time employees. Thanks, Madam President.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Ornella Zekovica. I live at 33448 Rayburn Street. I'm here to explain issue caused by honking in front of the Planned Parenthood in combination with city non-responsiveness to act on my neighbors and my request to bring back quality of life in our street. First, it is public knowledge that Planned Parenthood attract protesters, as well as that particular group uses calls for honking as their nonverbal method of expression. When city allowed Planned Parenthood at the entrance of the Coventry Garden, these were known facts. Second, honking that happens most of the weekdays and from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. because protesters are keeping their signs up and drivers with or without knowing what they are responding on is first depleting quality of our lives. Perpetual noise is unbearable for everyday functioning, from working, learning, resting. Honking on the busy street as Farmington, unless it's traffic safety related, is dangerous and illegal. Third, despite my neighbors and I called and emailed to a variety of city officials, we received a response only denial. One of the council member last year said that actually noise cannot be heard, sure, if you live a mile away from cross-section. Denial, another member said that maybe perhaps in the future, the issue of putting Planned Parenthood next to the residential area will be reconsidered. But I don't know how is that addressing the current issue. And to some point, negligence, because police told us that they don't have either time or resources to give tickets to drivers who are honking without having traffic safety reasons. So to conclude, this level of obliviousness from city officials to evident issues that we have is not acceptable. So we decided to actually bring these things to public via media and not to forget that our democracy is in our vote. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. And just for a couple of comments or responses, and then I'll go to council. We have discussed this issue at great length and looked for remedies. We are, and I'm not going to put Mr. Bernier on the spot, but one of the issues, and this doesn't, I'm going to get to the honking issue in a minute, but the issue of protest, it's a First Amendment right, as you know. And so the ability to limit, to censure that is almost non-existent. You're absolutely right that the honking is a different situation because that does violate ordinances. And the police department works under the direction of the mayor. And the issue of resources and where they spend their time, and again, what the police department does, right? They go to the most critical issues, right? And unfortunately, our staffing is improving. We're still understaffed. So the resources available to deal with things like honking violations are limited. But I would encourage you, for that piece, to talk to the mayor's office, because they work under the direction of the mayor. And I'm sorry for what sounds like some insensitive responses you receive from people saying they couldn't hear it. I mean, those of us who drive by that hear it. And then to your other point about moving forward, what can we do? Last week, and I'll let Mr. Barr, if you'd like to comment on this.
You're doing fine.
All right. And we understand that now, right, that the only thing that we can look at is enforcement and how within the law and respecting First Amendment, within the resources we have, that we can give remedy to the situation you're in of the honking all the time. You know, maybe the answer is that we ask the protesters, you know, or that the neighborhood has a meeting with the protesters. I mean, I think we'd be happy to talk to you about if there's any way we can facilitate that, or the city could facilitate a discussion on taking the signs down. I don't know that the signs asking people to honk violate an ordinance. I don't know the answer to that. Do you, Mr. Bernier?
Off the top of my head, last time I looked at the ordinance and the statute, talk about the person honking the horn.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the people holding the sign aren't honking the horn, it's people driving by.
So maybe we could take a look at that. I think that raises a good question. Maybe we need to take a look at the ordinance to see if there's a way, again, being respectful and careful of First Amendment rights, that we can address and include in the ordinance that you cannot encourage people, right, to break the law. I don't know if we can do that. We'll be happy to take a look at that. And then finally, moving forward, Vice President Barr has asked the law department if there is a way that we can have some oversight or some control over Planned Parenthood facilities being located next to residential areas. Our interpretation of the state law has been that our hands are tied, and that we're not able to treat, a Planned Parenthood or an abortion services provider or a company affiliated with that any differently than we treat a dentist's office. So, thank you very much.
Madam Chair,
Please.
if I may, may I ask, and I'm sorry, I'm failing to remember your name at the moment. Is this every day this is occurring, do we know?
Last week was every day.
Okay.
They didn't come up.
And how far in are you on Rayburn? I'm just
First house
You're
next to
fr-
the Planned Parenthood.
right behind it? Behind?
behind it, yeah.
Right behind it, okay. Appreciate it, thank you. I just wondered how that noise extended, if you will, because I live at the other end of Rayburn.
I can be very honest with you. I'm on a conference call, and people that I'm on a conference call with are hearing
I,
and
I-
asking, where do you live?
There's a loud noise coming from the audience, and it's
Yeah.
hard to hear, no offense. I'm sorry, go ahead.
and if you come back to the podium, only because then your comments get picked up and heard.
Well, the honking is to that point that I am on a conference call. Unfortunately, my office is still working part-time from home, part-time in office. And when I'm at home and I'm working and I'm on conference call, people are asking me, where do you live? Because they can hear how much is and how constantly is. And yeah, it's true. I mean, last week, they were there every day. Today, they were not there. I mean, they have their schedule, they're coming and going, but it's very consistent. When they are there and when signs are up, people are responding on honking.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Donovan?
Thanks, Madam President. I'd just like to kind of acknowledge the honking aspect of it. It is illegal in the state of Michigan to honk your horn unless to ensure safe operation and give audible warning. So regardless of what anybody's opinion is on this or that, it is illegal to just use your honk your horn, excuse me, just because. So I do feel for the residents that have to deal with that all day long. I mean, I know it's been a topic we've been dealing with for quite a long time now, but there's been a few colleagues that have alluded to your hands are sort of tied, so to speak. But I just want to make a clarification that it is a MCL 257-706. It is illegal to just honk your horn indiscriminately. Thanks, Madam President.
Yeah, if you want to, sure. Oh,
Councilmember Toy, did you?
thank you. Yeah, maybe we should put it over to law and just see about the ordinance, any changes we could or couldn't make. Sorry, Paul, but
No, it's
Yeah.
fine. Council Vice President Barr asked us to look into the setbacks and a few other issues, and we're looking into what we can look into.
Oh, okay.
But unfortunately, this building is here where it is.
Right.
And unless the police are prepared to put a honking task force out there to stop people, unless the protesters become a little more neighborly, it's a tough problem to deal with. And I don't know what the answer is, but I know what the problem is. And I don't know that there's a whole lot that can be done about the honking, absent that, which, as it was indicated before, our staffing levels, I don't see that happening. It's just not the use of the resources that we have. So I don't know what the answer to the question is. I know what the problem is, though. But
Got it.
we have been in constant contact and trying to deal with the problem. It's a tough problem, given somebody's First Amendment rights, so.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you, thank you.
All right, anyone else on this issue? All right, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Connie Dickey, and I live at 33451 Rayburn, right across the street from Planned Parenthood. And I know at the last meeting, Ms. Toy, you had asked, but I had to walk away for Mr. Bauer to do his proposal. I live on Rayburn, east of Farmington, but my Planned Parenthood's about approximately 100 feet
Okay.
from my house.
Are you the greenhouse?
Pardon?
The greenhouse, the green behind the White House? No,
No, I'm right,
not the White House in Washington.
when they redid the road, they referred to me as the house on the hill,
Oh,
because my house sits up.
oh, man, nice, okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
my neighbor and I both sent an email after the last meeting because we were a little bit confused on Mr. Bauer's proposal on understanding that's not going to help us. The building's there. We didn't get a response. We got a thank you note, but no response from anybody. However, unaware to us, the Observer wrote an article about it.
right.
And there were multiple comments in there. The police did end up coming like the day after the Observer came out, and they came a couple of days in a row, and last Thursday, they gave out the first ticket. They got it. I do know that I've stated before that seeing city buses, school buses honking, irritates me because that's tax dollars driving around there encouraging this noise. And other vehicles, I did see a fire truck once drive by and honk. And those sounds can make you jump a mile, especially the bigger vehicles out there. In the article, there were a couple of good suggestions. And this is asking a lot, but change the signs to thumbs up for life. We know it's COVID time. We know everybody is concerned about what's happening. So everybody wants life to happen. Instead of honk, thumbs up, if they're listening. Another thing is,
30 seconds, Ms. Dickey.
okay, city council create a buffer zone. Don't know if that would be in the legal department. And then also, in your folders that we get in the mail, advertise about the honking being illegal. Put it in there saying it's a law, so it's out there for the public to know. I just wanted to let you know, we're not against the First Amendment. We're not against protesters. We're not against Planned Parenthood. We are neutral. We just want our peace.
Thank you, Ms. Dickey. All right. Good evening.
Good evening, council members. So my name is Anthony Molesky. I reside at 14575 Cabell Street. I'm here today on behalf of Western Gulf Estates. We're situated right at 5 Mile and Inkster, to address a concern about banners that we have on light posts. We recently had a complaint from a homeowner that initiated the city inspector to request for us to take the banners down. The banners have been up for about, this is the second year now. It was a two-phase project that we were working on. We finished the second phase this year, and the homeowner association has invested over $3,000 to have these banners placed to keep our neighborhood beautiful. We want to welcome people to the neighborhood. We've seen over 10% of homeowner increase in turnaround. And we are requesting today to try to have those banners remain up. It's sad that they've been up this amount of time, and all of a sudden we have one homeowner out of 99 homes is requesting that it be taken down for whatever reason it may be. But from what we know, as homeowners, it's not causing any traffic issues. They are not an eyesore. We made sure that they were neutral in color so that it could attract people to our amazing neighborhood, and people pass through there all the time to walk. And we want to continue to beautify Livonia and our subdivision. I wanted to read a note here that I got from a homeowner, because I didn't want to use this time for me to speak so much, but I think it would be best to hear from a homeowner who just purchased a home in our subdivision. Her name is Lindsay Obenauer. She lives at 14335 Cabell Street. She wrote to me, I recently moved into Western Gulf Estates with my husband, Brandon, and our 3 school-age daughters this past June. We have absolutely loved being a part of the community that our HOA has worked so hard to establish and maintain. Part of the draw to this neighborhood for our family was the aesthetics. It really set apart from other Livonia neighborhoods, which creates a legitimate feeling of security. Streetlights, well-lit streets and sidewalks, nicely manicured homes, and all of these things come together to create exactly what we sought after in a new home. We could have moved to a different city, but the Western Gulf subdivision is what made us stay. It's come to my attention that a neighbor with a history of complaining has raised an issue regarding the banners that adorn our light posts.
30 seconds left, Mr. Molesky.
Thank you. I'm going to shorten this up.
Okay.
With this letter, this new homeowner is saddened to hear that one person who had the opportunity to settle the matter long before the banners ever went up is now causing grief for the rest of the neighborhood. And I, as the HOA president, stand here today asking that we can keep those banners up. I know Laura Toy visited our subdivision a couple years ago. We had a block party thanks to the Livonia grant, and we're just trying to bring our community together and keep it a safe, beautiful place. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Molesky, and it was nice talking to you the other evening, and thank you for being able to come tonight and raise this concern. And first of all, thank you for being the HOA president. A number of us, many of us on this board, have served in HOA leadership capacities, and it is a pretty thankless job, right? And it involves a lot of work, but the role of HOAs are just essential, right, to our neighborhoods, and we're glad you were able to utilize the grant program for a block party. I would like to ask the administration through Ms. Thomas if we could talk to inspection and find out if there are any, what our options are, right? If it's only one resident, and it may be that there is not, given the current ordinance, options. But we will be happy to look into it and communicate back with you and help you figure out a way to address this.
Thank you so much.
All right? I think Mr. Barr would like to, former president of, I think, Compton Village
Yeah,
HOA.
we actually exchanged emails today. I said we need to
Okay.
compare notes, but just one brief thing to add on to that, Madam President, is we asked the administration to look into that. If I recall correctly from his email, I'm not going to read through it right now, but I believe he said that when they first looked into this, they actually approached the city, and the city referred to them to DTE. So if that's true, it seems like we've had a miscommunication thing, with city telling them one thing at one point, and another thing another time. So LaShawn may be aware of that if she takes it back, but I just want to point out that issue, and that's included in whatever we address, because I think his question is legitimate. Thanks.
Thank you for making that point, so we'll incorporate that.
Yep, and just, go ahead.
That's right.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Hey, did you guys take out a permit for those signs by any chance, or?
We were told by the inspector's office that we needed to contact DTE.
Okay.
So we contacted DTE, and
okay.
through all of that, we finally got a hold of somebody who said, sure, you can go ahead and put those up,
Oh,
no
okay.
problem. As long as you don't damage them, it's fine. So we were never told of a permit or anything that we needed to gather. But when I went to the inspector office, I was told that we were just unfortunately misinformed.
Okay.
So, and that was in 2019. So they have been up since 2019.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that forward.
Yep, thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Molesky. And with that, we reach the end of half an hour. So if there are still people that wish to address the council, we'll ask you, and we hope a pretty short agenda this evening, and we'll go back to audience communication at the end of the meeting, and we will stay as long as it takes to hear from everyone who wishes to address the council. With that, we do not have any reports this evening from the mayor or other city officials, so we move on to our consent agenda. Items 1 through 9 are listed on the consent agenda, and they're voted on as one item. It doesn't mean that they are any less important than any other items on the agenda, but rather that they have been determined not to be controversial in nature.
So moved.
Second.
Support from Councilmember Jolly. Anyone in the audience have any comments? All right, if not, Madam Clerk, would you please take the vote on the consent agenda items 1 through 9 this evening?
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Vice President Barr,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
President McIntyre.
Aye. And the consent agenda is approved unanimously. And with that, we continue on to the unfinished business portion of our committee, beginning of our council, beginning with meetings of the committee. This is a report out on the Finance and Budget Committee meeting of September 22nd, 2021. I'm sorry, it's not our report out. We already had a report out, correct?
We still report out.
Okay, we do have a report out. And this is the proposed budget for the city of Livonia for the fiscal year ending November 30th, 2022, and the property tax millage proposed to be levied to support the proposed budget. This is Council Resolution 260-21. The public hearing was held on October 6, 2021. It's respectfully suggested that the City of Livonia preliminary budget documents for the fiscal year 2021 through 2022 received on September 15th, 2021, be received and placed on file for the information of the council, and is respectfully suggested that the supplement to preliminary budget 2021 through 2022 personnel worksheets received on September 15th, 2021, be received and placed on file for the information of the council.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'll offer an approving resolution on the budget and the proposed tax millages.
I'll second those.
All right, and with that, Mr.
Sure, Madam President.
Yes.
I was just going to say, I
Vice
think technically I need to report out on the meeting first, but I just do that as part of this resolution because it's brief and it's relevant. So if that's okay with you,
That's
I'll just
fine.
do that. So, yeah, we did hold a meeting on September 22nd. Just for residents' information, our budget cycle typically starts with a meeting in mid-August, early to mid-August, where we meet with the council, or the mayor's office meets with the council to start talking preliminarily about what we want included in the budget. The mayor's office ultimately delivers a budget to us by September 15th. And then we held this meeting on September 22nd to formally go through that budget, and just a brief report out on that meeting. As is typical, our Assistant City Assessor, Jacob Liberati, presented the 2021 assessment data for our review. Mayor Brosnan then introduced a balanced budget and highlighted her priorities and considerations that were contained therein. Our Finance Director, Mike Slater, who's here tonight, walked council through the details of that budget, and that's the majority of that meeting. And then we have some discussion about it. There wasn't a ton of discussion. Really, the only I guess, significant question or challenge, if you will, actually came from me, and I'll just explain that a little bit here because it's actually relevant to what we're going to vote on here in a minute. First of all, whenever you go through a detailed budget like this, I think it's natural. When you have 7 council people in a mayor's office, there's going to be points of disagreement. There's going to be plenty. Fortunately, we usually have majority agreement. And overall, I'd say that the mayor's office and the administration did a really nice job with this budget. Are there things in there that I don't necessarily agree with? Yeah, but I also recognize there's appropriate deference to the people that hold that office. They were elected too, and you know, barring huge disagreement, you know, we can work together on those things and move forward. The one thing that I raised, and this is one of the notes from that meeting, that I raised a question about was we have one fund in the city budget, Fund 418, for those keeping track of the accounting, that was just created about 3 years ago, and it's a building fund. It actually came as somewhat as a result of the discussions we were having about how to pay for the Department of Public Works building that just recently opened up. And you know, when you're doing a project like that, and you got to find roughly $10 million, that's not an easy thing to do. And so back at that time, we created a fund within our general fund that more or less we treat as a savings account to put money aside in little by little to save up for the next time we have a major building project like that. So, you know, hopefully the next time we have to do a project like that, we need $10 million or whatever it is. We have the majority or all of the money sitting there versus trying to figure out where we're going to come up with it. Just like you do with your home budgets, it's savings. And I was under the impression, and it's still my opinion, that we should treat that fund more or less like a lockbox. That, you know, once it's put there, we don't touch it. One of the things in this budget, and I just want to say philosophically, I agree with the administration that as we look at Vision 21, there's going to be studies that we need to do in order to look at what's going to be involved with some of the building projects that have been proposed. I totally support that, and I think it's wise for them to be proactive in that sense. I did have a problem with taking what amounts to $300,000 in the budget out of that Fund 418, which I see as a lockbox for putting shovels in the ground. That being said, I've had extensive conversations with Mr. Slater and Mr. Tarmina, our Economic Development Director, and thank you to both of them for the time they've taken to talk through this with me. And at the end of the day, it's just a difference in approach. Philosophically, I would handle it differently, but without going into further detail, as we talked about what the end game was of this and some other money that's going to be coming down that we're going to be putting into this fund, I do recognize that this budget ultimately represents where we probably would have ended up anyway. I want to state for the record that I would hope going forward that we can truly continue to keep a very high bar for the reasons why we would dip into that fund. I want to be very careful, and I'm not saying this is what's happening now, but I want to be very careful that we don't set a precedent that we have more and more temptations to treat that like a slush fund, because it's a growing pot of money, and it's tempting to go in there and grab things from it. So that was my concern, and I considered strongly actually asking that be removed from this before we move forward. But based on those discussions, I'm comfortable in this case with doing that, and we'll be supporting this resolution tonight. So anyway, thanks for hearing me out on that. There were no other significant challenges expressed by council. Council President McIntyre's already talked about the committee's recommendation, and we already have a motion on the table to vote on the budget. So that's, I guess I didn't report out on everybody that was at the meeting, but I think everybody that was supposed to be there was there, and we'll just leave it at that. So, thanks, Madam President.
All right, and just one comment. I think we did informally also ask during one of the meetings that going forward, the council be provided on detail on city cars and stipends for department heads. And that was not tied to approval of the budget, but I think we did ask for that as supplemental information moving forward. All right, anyone else? Any comments from the audience? All right, Madam Clerk, would you please take a vote on the approving resolution of the budget and the 2021-2022 millage rates?
Councilmember Jolly?
Aye.
Councilmember Toy?
Aye.
Vice President Barr?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough?
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic?
Aye.
President McIntyre?
Aye. And the resolution carries, and so we've approved the budget and the millage rates. All right, moving on, we go to item number 11, and this is a proposed amendment to the Livonia Vision 21 zoning ordinance as amended. This comes to us from the Department of Law regarding petition 2021-07-01-06 submitted by LAG Development to rezone the property at 34801 located on the south side of Plymouth Road between Stark and Wayne Roads in the northwest quarter of Section 33 from C1, local business, to C2, general business. The public hearing was held on September 27th, 2021. Council?
Madam President?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just double checking my notes here. Oh, this is a long one in here. Do we need a first reading on this, or is this an approval?
This would be a first reading if
Okay.
anyone wants to offer
Thank you.
it.
I will offer a first reading. Sorry, I was trying to find my confirmation on that. Thanks.
Okay.
I'll offer first reading.
All right, Vice President Barr has offered a first reading. And for the scouts that are here tonight, we have, when we do significant things like changes to ordinance rezoning, we have what's called a first reading. Normally, in a meeting, we would come out of a study meeting where we'd have a recommendation and we would vote one way or another or put it into committee. For these significant items, we have what's called a first reading, and it's offered, and we don't vote on the item until the next meeting. And so it gives everyone a chance on these significant issues where there might be a lot of public input or additional data or additional study that we want to do, to have an opportunity to look at it for another 2 weeks and then vote on it. All right, item number 12 is a waiver petition for, regarding petition 2021-07-02, submitted by Quick Stop Incorporated, requesting waiver use approval to add fuel pumps and operate a gasoline service station at 37405 Ann Arbor Road, located at the southwest corner of Ann Arbor and Newburgh Roads in the northeast quarter of Section 31. Public hearing was held on September 27th, 2021.
Madam President,
Councilmember Jolly,
I'll offer denying motions.
Support.
any discussion?
If I may, Madam President,
Please.
just very quickly here. This petition concerns the old family video site on that property, and a proposal to potentially use it as a gas station and to add fuel pumps there. We had a long discussion at the public hearing in regards to this. and also at, I believe, the study meeting leading up to this, oh no, I'm sorry, for the public hearing, and then it led to the regular meeting here. At this time, I just don't think that that's an appropriate use for the site. I think we thought through it. There's a lot of concerns there, why this is not a good idea. The one that stands out to me in particular is Lake Newburgh is in such a close proximity that if there were to be some sort of accident or spill, the lake would undoubtedly become polluted. And I also have a secondary concern in regards to, as we continue going forward, we hear almost every single day from the big three and automotive manufacturers across the globe that they plan to be all electric in the near future, in the next decade or so. So I question how much we need to add an additional gas station to the landscape here in Livonia. And so those are the reasons why I'm offering the denial. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone from the audience? Madam Clerk, would you please take the vote on the denying resolution offered by Mr. Jolly?
Councilmember Jolly?
Aye.
Councilmember Toy?
Aye.
Vice President Barr?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Councilmember McCullough?
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic?
Aye.
President McIntyre?
Aye, the denying resolution carries, and so the waiver use approval is not approved. All right, at this time, we go back to audience communication. If there are people in the audience that did not have the opportunity to address the council during the first audience communication, we ask you to come to the podium and address us now. And all the same rules apply with 3 minutes. Oh,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
yes, I'm sorry.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to express my view on some issue. Being,
Could you give us your name and address,
I'm
please?
sorry,
That's quite all right.
Margaret Oldfield, 34705 Maven Avenue, Livonia, 48152.
Thank you.
Being a fairly new resident since 2015 and homeowner in the 7 Mile and Gill area in northwestern Livonia, I am here before you to address my concern about an ordinance that I feel is unfair and inconvenient. Before expounding upon the details of the issue, please allow me to share some background and history to establish my credibility. At age 82, I was an only child of parents fleeing and escaping the Turkish government's tyranny and genocide of 1.5 million Armenians in 1915. At age 12, my mother witnessed Turkish gendarmes knocking on their door, taking away her father and her only 14-year-old brother. They were never seen again, along with 1.5 million genocide victims, innocent men, women, and children. She ended up in a Near East relief orphanage in Greece, and years later immigrated to the blessed shores of America by steamship through Ellis Island in 1938. My father started working at the Rouge Dearborn Iron Foundry when Henry Ford was paying a whopping $5 a day wages. He wouldn't miss a day of work, even when physically ill. He retired in 1958 after 38 years of service. Like my mother, I became a survivor after my late ex-husband, a Ford Motor Company executive in marketing, chose greener pastures with a coworker and walked in 1970, leaving me with a 2-year-old son, now age 52, and an unpaid mortgage.
30 seconds.
Madam President,
Yes,
I would like to grant, well, if I may, can I ask the resident in question, how much time do you need? 2 minutes, 3 minutes?
I need probably another 2 minutes.
Okay, Madam President, if it's okay, I'd like to grant the resident 3 minutes of additional comments for public comments.
any objection?
I support. No, so-
All right, so Ms. Oldfield, So you now have 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
All right?
Thank you. I lived in the same house in Detroit for 45 years and raised my son. He graduated from Catholic Central High School and is a 25-year Ford Motor employee, currently working in material logistics at the Ford Livonia transmission plant. I attended Wayne University, and I'm going to shorten this here. I was a church organist at St. John's Armenian Church for 24 years until illness of my right hand keeps me from working, and I lost my livelihood, and I lost my job. I played for every wedding, every funeral for 24 years at the church. I am currently under medical care at University of Michigan. My issue is the antiquated 1988 ordinance regarding garage sales. As a homeowner and taxpayer of $6,000 in property tax, I should be able to have a garage sale whenever I may need one, not ordered to have a sale only 2 times a year, 4 weeks apart, 6 consecutive days if the weather turns out to be favorable. No doctor's appointments. I'm not living in socialistic society like Russia, China, Afghanistan, and this is Livonia, USA, not Livonia, USSR. I am making a proposal to rescind and review this antiquated, inconvenient 1988 ordinance, which is enforced in a hit-and-miss hodgepodge way, as there are many garage sales every week. Everyone disagrees with the ordinance as it is. Also, a rep from the clerk's office came to my property and intimidatingly ordered me to close my garage sale. I'm not bothering anyone. I don't make any noise. I don't do anything illegal. I'm an 82-year-old grandmother who wants to have a garage sale as I need them. And depending on my schedule, my doctor's appointments, the weather, availability, not the convenience of the city of Livonia. So certainly, Livonia can make better use of its paid employees' time for more serious, pertinent, and important matters than intimidating and harassing an 82-year-old trying to have a garage sale. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for taking the time to be here and your thoughtful and a very thorough explanation. And we've now heard everything that you've had to say, and we will take it up and look at it, and I can assure you that you will hear back from someone, and by someone I mean a specific person, right? It just depends, depending where this goes, who you'll hear back from. But I can assure you within, a week or so that you'll receive some initial feedback. So thank you very much for being here. We appreciate your time. Thank you for that. All right, anyone else?
Good evening, Council. How are you all
Good
today?
evening.
My name is Tamara Lumpkin. I actually am from Western Gulf Estates as well. I stay at 27621 Western Gulf Drive, and I am actually the secretary for the Homeowners Association. Yes, a very thankless job. So I'm here to say that we worked very hard in order to collect all of the funds to get this done, saved all of this money. I've only been on the board for about a year now, and I've seen so much bickering back and forth. And why? For nothing, because we all want the same thing, the beautification of our area. I actually got one of my best friends to move to the area because of that. She wanted to move to Canton. I'm like, Canton? Girl, come see our neighborhood. And she ended up moving here because of the things that we were doing in the neighborhood. We try to make it more family-centered. We have the things for all of the kids, the block party, as Ms. Toy came to, thank you for coming. We do a lot of things in the summer, and of course, we're friends there. So with one neighbor complaining, of course, I tell everybody there's more of us in numbers to help to get the things that we need. And for me, I just ask that you guys look into this and help us to keep the signs up. They're beautiful, and of course, a lot of people enjoy them in the neighborhood. One bad apple does not do it all for all of us. So I thank you for your time, and we definitely hope that you look at this.
We thank
further.
you, we thank you for your time to come tonight. We also thank you for your work in the HOA, and I say it's a toss-up as to whose job is worse, the president or the secretary.
Oh, my gosh.
I think, you know, right, I think we could flip a coin depending on the day, but thank you. And again, you heard a lot from all of us. There's nothing that is more important in a city than engaged residents. And, you know, you take engaged residents and citizens, and then you kick it up a notch, people that are willing to give their time and talents for their neighborhoods, for our community. And, you know, that's, and there's the old adage, if you want something done, ask a busy person, right? So
Right.
I would guess that you and I'm Mr.
Molesky.
Molesky, I thought I want to make sure, but that you and Mr. Molesky probably are among some of the busiest people in your neighborhood, but somehow you still find the time to serve. So, just like our scout leaders who are here tonight, and all the citizens who took the time to come tonight, right? These are all people that have a lot on their plate. So thank you very much. And you heard us, we're going to look into the situation and see what options are available.
Thank you so much. And I'm actually on my way to my Girl Scout troop, so.
Oh, my, there you go. I think Councilman Jolly wanted to say something. I know you've got another commitment.
So I was okay with not, initially I
Oh,
wanted
I'm
to speak,
sorry.
and then I was okay with not. I think this is one thing, just to give you some clear direction here, or clear statement here. This is not something that we as a council can just allow, like in a forum just such as this. There would have to be something to come before us. Your neighborhood sounds like a great place. I had a lot of friends growing up who lived in there. You know, the neighborhood grant thing, that's something that's special to me. I'm glad you utilized it. But don't think that we're not doing something right now. It's not something like we can grant you an approval right now or something like that. As the council president indicated, it'll be looked into, okay?
We understand. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
very much for your time.
Thank you, and enjoy that Girl Scout meeting.
I will.
She
All
likes to
right.
buy cookies too, by the way.
There you go.
She's a good target.
I am a good target. I'm pushover for Girl Scout cookies and Boy Scout popcorn. Okay.
I know, I've got something.
All right, good evening.
Good evening. My name's Paul Gagel. I'm a resident of the Western Gulf Estates Homeowners Association. Address is 27719 Western Gulf Drive. I would just like to say, sitting here, listening to the comments from Tony and Tamara, I learned a few things tonight about some of the steps that were taken for the banners that was unknown to me before. So it was kind of educational for me, why we do have some communication. Some of the communication could be better to the residents, but I just wanted to come up and say that this is some new information I learned about the conversations with the city and things like that, so.
Well, again, I'll say it again. Thank you very much for taking the time to be here. Thank you for being an engaged citizen.
Oh, and I know how busy they are too. I'm a former board member.
Okay,
President, secretary, I've had both positions, so.
So, well, you know, it's certainly encouraging. Western Gulf Estates is a lovely neighborhood, and it's really nice to see that there's clearly such an active and engaged group of people. So thank you again for taking the time to be here and your work in support of the community and your neighborhood.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, President.
Yes.
If there's nobody else coming, I was going to say this with you. Just a brief comment. We've said it, but I really firmly believe that the work in your neighborhood and in our other active neighborhood associations, the work that you're doing, I actually think has a much more direct impact on the quality of life in the city than anything we do up here. We do some important work that's necessary in order to establish an environment in which we can operate, but what you guys are doing, I wish we had more neighborhood associations doing the types of things that you're doing. And I'll just share one, to wrap up, one funny anecdote. When I was president of Compton Village Association a number of years back, and I was in, at that time, Mayor Jack Kirksey's office one day discussing some things, and found out that this man who I admired and was a friend of mine, in his 80s, has been a state rep, has been a principal, has been a mayor. He was in his third or fourth term total. All the things he's done, and he was still his block captain. And I looked at him, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, you're still the block captain. And he said, yeah. And so that just goes to show that there's one big difference between being a neighborhood president or a block captain and being mayor. He said, what's that? I said, well, you can actually find somebody to take your place to be mayor.
That's true.
So anyway, thank you again for what you're doing. So.
That's a great story, Scott. All right, anyone else?
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Support. I think we can safely show 7 on that. It's 8:20. We will reconvene our study meeting at 8:30. Thank you very much.